Organ donation is so much more than supply and demand. So, why would a group of economists start a program for potential organ donors?
Just distributing organs from deceased and living donors to the liver and kidney patients of the world is an unbelievably complex problem.
That's Project Donor Executive Director Ruby Rorty. I'm Sarah Jane Castro, Senior Director of Marketing and Communications for the National Kidney Foundation of Illinois, and your host for this edition of The Journey Continues. Ruby, I think you are the first economist we've had on the podcast. Can you tell us a little bit about your background?
So I am an economist in training, but not necessarily professionally. I actually graduated from the University of Chicago's economics program in 2022. So I'm a recent graduate, but I've been working for the economist Stephen Levitt, the author of Freakonomics, since right after graduation. Steve founded the Center for Risk, which is a think tank and nonprofit incubator housed at the University of Chicago. At Risk, our day-to-day work is finding and implementing creative solutions to some of the world's most pressing social problems. So we work on organ donation, in the foster care space, in criminal justice, and on climate change. And we try to bring a sort of live economist thinking to all of these problems. A lot of our work is in behavioral interventions, trying to make systems work better for people and work better at solving the problems they're designed to solve, because a lot of times our systems and our bureaucracies actually make the problems they're supposed to solve worse. And so we every day go to work and try to find good ideas, talk to experts, understand how they work, and then eventually implement them.
Incredible. That sounds like a really engaging work, and you're doing so many different things. What does RISK stand for?
RISK is the Center for Radical Innovation for Social Change at the University of Chicago. That's what it stands for, but it's also an apt acronym because Levitt's career has really been defined by risk taking. Freakonomics was all about kind of poking holes in traditional thinking about social questions and also challenging some of the traditional norms of economics and really bringing economic thinking to lay people from all sorts of backgrounds, rather than having economics be this kind of golden field of knowledge locked in an ivory tower. So we try to take risks every day in the ideas that we talk about and the ideas we pursue and the questions that we ask. And I think that we're really set up to do that because Steve Levitt has always been a risk taker.
I love the double meaning there. That's great. Why organ donation? You mentioned so many social issues. Why is organ donation among those important issues getting attention from RISK?
If you search organ donation in any kind of economic journal, economists love to think and talk about organ donation. And that's for a few reasons, but I think some of the most salient ones are that it's incredibly complicated system that relies on a lot of often overlooked incentives and behavioral nudges and institutions interacting with each other, all things that economists are interested in predicting and modeling and in improving. And so actually distributing organs from deceased and living donors to the liver and kidney patients of the world is an unbelievably complex problem that involves using iPhone trackers in vans that are taking kidneys across borders, that involves organ transportation in airports, that involves really complex algorithmic work of helping to match people to organs. And so all of these things are kind of like economist bait. But another really core reason, organ donation is a really unique opportunity because interventions have such a crystalline, obvious, powerful impact, and that's saving lives. And so the social value of a kidney in terms of quality years of life added, in terms of people's ability to just lead a happy, healthy life, and really organ donation does save lives. We estimate the social value of a kidney to be at least 1.3 million, but other estimates put it at up to 3 million. So organ donation is a place where often interventions are not as resource intensive. They involve implementing a policy change in an institution, or what Project Donor does, which is provide resources to organ donor candidates. Our intervention costs $500 per participant and has the potential to pay off in this really enormous way. I think that's another reason economists are really passionate about organ donation, because it is a problem with immense human suffering attached. Economists can't solve every problem, but it is a problem where economic intuition and economic research can play a real role in saving lives. And I think a lot of economists are really, really interested in the ways in which their research can translate to the real world. That's what a social science is all about, is applying these insights and applying these models to social problems with the goal of saving lives and changing systems. And I think organ donation is kind of the perfect real world laboratory for that.
Yeah, wow, $500 to potentially $3 million. That's quite the return on investment. So let's talk a little bit about Project Donor, which is part of the work you're doing at Risk. What is Project Donor? What's the sort of elevator pitch for the project?
Project Donor is a program born out of a core insight, which is that many people who are passionate living donor candidates who really want to give an organ to a loved one or to a stranger and to save a life are actually turned away at the door because of mutable health issues. Often they're a few pounds overweight for their center's BMI guidelines. Often they use cigarettes, and the center they hope to donate at is unwilling to operate on smokers. And these are mutable health issues where donor candidates would be reevaluated if they were able to address these issues. But very rarely are the people being turned away, often in the very initial survey that they take, are they actually told why they're being ruled out and whether there's a path to eligibility available to them. And so we just realized that there was this big population of people who, in many cases, were desperate to help a loved one and sometimes didn't even realize that that option was still available to them. So that's the core insight behind Project Donor. Now, what we do is provide one-on-one coaching and free access to weight loss and smoking cessation and mental health resources, with the goal of helping organ donor candidates achieve their goals and also just be in the best health possible going into surgery. The other core facet is that we provide resources after surgery. Very often, living donors feel like they've kind of been abandoned after they've donated an organ, and our goal is to make sure that they are able to maintain, the best health possible and to thrive in the long run after surgery. So we also provide our resources. We ask that all participants stay on the program for at least a year after surgery, but then they're also welcome. We have an open door policy, so they're welcome to come back to us if they're struggling with their health in the future, and we will do our best to connect them with more coaching and more resources to make sure that they're able to live their best one kidney or regrown liver life.
Wow, that's incredible. Where did people turn before Project Donor was created? Was there anything to help them mitigate some of those factors like high BMI or smoking?
Plenty of transplant centers, especially well-resourced ones, do have transplant dietitians on staff who help donors. Many centers focus on recipient well-being and trying to prep people for receiving an organ, but there are other programs that help people achieve eligibility. They tend to be in-house at transplant centers, and so you just kind of have to hope that the transplant center you're going to has such a program. But one really great example of that is Donate Well at USC, run by Susan Kim. So she has a great in-house program that provides kind of health coaching and counseling to folks who need to lose weight in order to achieve eligibility for donation. And so some centers have great in-house programs, but Project Donor recognizes that that's not universally available and that people don't always have a lot of choice in what center they go to because they're constrained by geography and by their recipient's geography. And so we want to make sure that there is a universal option.
Are smoking and weight loss the two main causes why someone might be ruled out as a donor?
So there are lots of reasons that about 90% of people who initially express an interest in donating an organ ultimately don't undergo surgery. And plenty of those people are ruled out for immutable reasons, meaning they're health issues that can't be addressed through these simple behavioral interventions. They're just not a good candidate for surgery. Other folks drop out because they're no longer interested, because their intended recipient either passes away or finds a better candidate. And so there's actually all sorts of reasons that someone might not ultimately donate when they're initially interested. But in terms of mutable health reasons, so things that really can be addressed that are preventing an eager and potentially highly qualified donor candidate from undergoing surgery, BMI is definitely up there. Data from the National Kidney Registry suggests that about a third of the people who come through their DASH interface, so their survey system for screening people who are interested in donation, are ruled out on the basis of BMI.
Wow.
Smoking is a less common reason because not all centers prohibit smokers from donating, but we do run into a lot of people who just need to quit smoking for a month or two in order to qualify and then want to work on long-term behavioral health and quit smoking in the long run as well. So most of our program participants work on their BMI, but smoking is also a common barrier.
How does the program work? How do potential donors find you?
So we work with over 30 transplant centers across the United States. Most of our participants are referred to us by transplant centers, so by their doctor or a social worker or a living donor coordinator at the center. But other folks find us by word of mouth. They learn about us on social media from other donors. And then plenty of people are also referred to us by the National Kidney Donation Organization, which connects donor candidates with successful living donors. And so their donor mentors have really been a wonderful source of participants for us, and they send a lot of folks our way. And so people find us, they find our website, and they schedule an initial consultation. And that's with one of our wonderful case managers. And so we work with social work students and graduate students in the health sciences at the University of Chicago. And they're kind of coaches and cheerleaders for our participant. And so every participant is assigned a case manager, and they can check in really as regularly as the participant wants in the form that the participant wants. So email, text, call. And our case managers are just there to help you overcome the barriers that show up along the journey to donation, including emotional blocks, including hard days. It's an incredibly emotional process, especially when many people are also taking care of a loved one who they're ultimately going to donate an organ to. The heart of our program is this one-on-one case management. Now, participants' case managers are the ones who talk to them about the health barriers that they might be facing to eligibility and who help them decide what resources might be best. So it's a very customizable program. People can choose between a range of resources that we provide with really generous support from companies, wellness companies that connect us with resources that we then can provide to our participants for free. So, for example, a weight loss participant, everyone is able to receive a free electronic scale delivered to their door if they don't have one to help them kind of track their progress. And then from there, folks can choose between Noom Nutrition, On Point Nutrition, and Weight Watchers or WW. Each of those three is a program that allows people to set the own pace of their weight loss and nutrition journey. Noom Nutrition takes more of a behavioral science approach. Weight Watchers is, a long-running program that has a big community element. And then On Point Nutrition connects people with registered nutritionists and dietitians to help them kind of have a higher touch path. And so people can choose between these resources. Smoking cessation folks have the option to pursue a range of including patches, gum, lozenges, kind of whatever is going to help them the most, and those are shipped to their door. And then all of our participants have the option of also receiving free talk therapy from BetterHelp Online Therapy. There are so many feelings that come up during the donation process and so many challenges. And so in addition to coaching from our case managers, they have access to more formalized talk therapy.
You really cover the whole spectrum. It's not just here's how to lose weight, but you've got a dedicated case manager you can talk to and rely on in the way that works for you, and you have access to that therapy. Because I have not donated a kidney, but I have heard from other kidney donors that there are so many emotions that come up, especially if you're donating to someone you know and love, there's an enormous sense of responsibility. So I imagine that resource is really helpful to people as they're entering into this process. Who covers the costs of those resources?
So far, Project Donor has been philanthropist funded. So we received very generous support, especially from the Schmidt Futures Foundation, and that's allowed us to provide these resources for free. Of course, that's in combination with the fact that the companies we work with, like BetterHelp, like New Nutrition, provide really generous discounts and allow us to buy in bulk. And often, like in the case of Newman BetterHelp, provide free subscriptions to our participants because they want to be involved in this life-saving intervention. And so through a combination of generosity from our resource providers and philanthropic funding, Project Donor got its start. Now we're trying to identify sustainable funding models, and we're exploring several of those. So while we continue to apply for grants and seek philanthropic support, we're also considering models that would involve small fees that transplant centers would pay in order to refer folks to us and to have donor candidates on our program. So the goal is that Project Donor will always be free for participants. That is the absolute heart of our program, and that's never going away. But now we're thinking about how we can make this work in the long term. And so we're talking about whether this is something insurance could eventually cover, whether this is something that transplant centers could pay a small fee for. The main thing is that we're not profit seeking here. So we're not trying to make any money. We're trying to cover our programmatic and staffing expenses so that we can continue to help people in the long-term future.
How many people have gone through the program since its inception?
We've had over 300 people on the program since its inception. We currently have over 200 people who we're supporting, and we've had 20 successful donations. Our first donation was in February of 2023. And so after about 1 year and 5 months, we've had 20 of those, and the graph is very much an exponential curve. So the rate at which we're having donations is increasing very quickly, which is really exciting. We've been surprised, but really incredibly gratified to see, how much demand there is for a program like this.
Absolutely. I think that you're absolutely right that there are a lot of people who want to donate, but are maybe turned away very quickly and not really given a whole lot of information as to come back in 6 months when you've done X, Y, and Z. So I think this kind of program is so necessary. You mentioned the social work students staffing Project Donor. Who else staffs Project Donor?
Project Donor is a team of analysts at the Center for Risk. So that's my role. And because Risk incubates all of these nonprofits, we usually start out by working on a few projects and then specialize. So Project Donor is my whole job. And I run it in partnership with two amazing analysts at UChicago, Camille Bricks and Noah Duncan. And between us, we work on operations, on program management, on participant support, and on long-term strategy, funding, and expansion. And of course, we do this with the support of Steve Levitt, the founder of Project Donor, as well as Jeffrey Sieverts, who is the co-founder of the Center for Risk. And so we're a small but mighty team, I would say. And we're lucky because of Steve and Jeff's connections in the worlds of business and social change to have a board of entrepreneur mentors who we can also turn to for advice. We are relatively new to the organ donation space, and that's why our team also makes a really big point of talking to as many people who are veterans of that space as possible. We recently just finished a research report where we interviewed about 24 doctors, living donor coordinators, donors, recipients, nonprofit advocates, surgeons, people who are touching this process in some way to understand what it looks like from their perspective. As we move forward and as we seek long-term sustainability, we're really excited to be able to hire people with backgrounds in transplant dietitian and transplant program management. But yes, we're incredibly lucky to have friends and advisors in some of the best transplant surgeons and living donor coordinators in the country. For us, this partnership really allows for a magical combination of outside insight and insider knowledge. So we are relative newcomers to the space and relative outsiders, but we bring ideas from the realms of behavioral economics and market shaping and complex systems. And then we are able to partner with these brilliant people who have been working in transplant, have tremendous institutional knowledge, tremendous intuition for how the system works, and really an incredible amount of lived experience. And when we come together, we're able to put together these sort of hybrid solutions that combine new insight with deep structural knowledge of the system.
What do you hope for Project Donor in the future, if you could imagine it growing and expanding, and what do you hope it could offer or be?
I think in the long run, Project Donor will save dozens and then hundreds of lives every year. That's what I'm most excited about, because ultimately what this all comes down to is helping people donate organs and helping people receive organs to do our part to close the organ shortage in the United States. That is the headline. That is what Project Donor is all about. In the long run, to make that happen, I'm excited about finding sustainable funding models, but also being able to add to our list of innovative solutions like Project Donor's behavioral interventions to help people achieve eligibility. And so we have some early but very exciting partnerships with leading transplant centers to work on process improvement, to work on experimental ways to tweak the intake process to make it way easier for people to move through and stay in the organ donation process. I would love to be a part of efforts to expand interventions that have worked really well in the kidney space to the liver space, because we work with both liver and kidney donors. So, for example, piloting voucher programs for liver donors. So I think that really the sky's the limit. There are so many opportunities to save lives and improve systems in organ donation, and we're not going to stop here.
Wonderful. Will you share a participant success story you're really proud of?
So one great success story is that of Rachel Watson. She's a 27-year-old in Chicago, which is actually where we're based. And Rachel kind of had this thunderbolt moment of realizing that she wanted to give an organ to a stranger. And so she started the process, but the first transplant center she approached just turned her away at the door because she was really just a few pounds over the BMI limit. She was told that she was not going to be an organ donor. That is really devastating when you think that you're going to save a life and you're told that it's just not possible. But she got in touch with a new transplant center and she got connected with Project Donor. And working with us, she lost 17 pounds and was able to achieve transplant eligibility. And she went on to donate. And Rachel is just the brightest soul you'll ever meet. Organ donors are the most amazing, committed, brilliant people. And working with them is the best part of my job. And so it's been really remarkable to see her first, overcome those challenges and save a life, and then now be a voice and an advocate for living donation and to give advice to other living donors and to sort of pass that gift on. I think organ donation is just the gift that keeps giving. And so it's been really wonderful to see Project Donor participants who have achieved their goals and gone on to donate then become their own kind of beacons, whether it's talking to the press or talking to other donors or supporting Project Donor participants with advice or becoming donor mentors at NKDO. That's just been a wonderful thing to see.
That's got to feel really good at the end of the day to know that you're helping people achieve their dreams. You're helping Rachel achieve her dream of donating a kidney or an organ, and you're helping two people receive organs, the person she gave hers to and the person who is then bumped up the waiting list because she's donated.
Oh, so actually Rachel wasn't a voucher donation, and so she just gave it to a stranger. My bad.
Yeah, either way, if you give a voucher or if you just donate altruistically, you're taking someone off the deceased donor waiting list in that case. It's all saving lives, so it's all great. We love it. Where can our listeners go to find out more information about Project Donor if they are interested in more information or want to participate or just want to read up on what you're doing?
So folks can learn more about our work at projectdonor.org, and that includes transplant centers as well as potential participants. You can schedule an intake meeting with us, and if you're a transplant center, one of our reps will come and present to you about Project Donor and how it works and the resources available. And if you're a living donor candidate, we'll connect you to a case manager and get you started right away.
I'm so excited about the work you're doing, and I'm so excited to see how Project Donor grows in the years to come. And we're seeing More lives saved. I'm really thrilled about this, and it's been such a pleasure to talk to you, Ruby.
Likewise, Sarah Jane, and we're big fans of the NKF and are just really proud that Illinois is a great state to donate a kidney in, and recognize that it's also because of work of nonprofit advocates like yourself. And at the end of the day, I always say this, but it really is all about the donors, and they're the ones giving this amazing gift. And as far as I'm concerned, we're just there to help out and make that process easier.
Learn more about kidney transplants, living donations, and all things kidney health by visiting our website at nkfi.org. Learn more about Project Donor at projectdonor.org. Prevention is a key part of our mission at NKFI. That's why at the end of each episode, we offer a health or nutrition tip.
Here's today's nutrition tip about reading food labels. Understanding how to read a food label can help you make smart food decisions that are good for your health. The food label will list how many servings are in a container and what the serving size is. Serving size is another term for portion or helping of the food we eat. You'll want to pay attention to what the serving size is, as oftentimes many containers, cans, and packages are more than one serving. For example, a can of soup, it's likely to be 2 or more servings. The calories on the food label are telling you how many calories are in one serving, not the entire package. If you eat more than one serving, you'd have to multiply that by the number of calories listed to know how many calories you consumed. The percent daily value column lets you know how many nutrients are in one serving, or the percentage of nutrients in that one serving. A percent daily value of 5% or lower means that it's a low source, and 20% or higher is a high source. If you're looking for low sources of sugar or sodium, look for a product that has 5% daily value or less per serving. Use the total fat, saturated fat, and trans fat listed to help guide you as you limit how much of these you eat. Too much saturated fat and trans fat may increase your risk of certain chronic diseases like heart disease, some cancers, or high blood pressure. Many people are not getting enough dietary fiber, vitamin A, vitamin C, calcium, and potassium in their diets. You can see what percentage of these nutrients are in a serving of the food at the bottom of the food label. Aim for 20 to 35 grams of fiber a day and make sure you're drinking plenty of water as well. If you're looking for phosphorus on the food label, chances are you'll not see a specific amount, but you can look at the ingredient list to see if there are any added sources of phosphorus. You'll find those by looking in the ingredient list and looking for words that start with PHOS. With today's nutrition tip, I'm Melissa Prest, a registered dietitian nutritionist,